well as Young Bonnie Chronicles. And I'm joined once again by Jocelyn Short.
Hello.
She's a concept artist and illustrator. She does a bunch of concept art for me as well as other places. I think she recently did something for Virtuous Con. Uh,
Mhm.
and she's the creator of a series called Bearers. We're waiting for that comic to come out.
Mhm.
We are back once again to talk Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, streaming right now on Apple TV. If you have not watched up until the fourth episode, Parallels and Interiors, spoiler alert, we're going to be getting into a lot of the story beats. We get the flashback, well, not the flashback, but the last time on Monarch, and they give us all the previous three episodes dealings, and then we start out in this show in Utah in 2015 with a Dr. Barnes sitting in a trailer. Obviously, she works for Monarch, and she gets some readings in her trailer, and she has some weird piece of equipment she has to fumble through the trunk to get to somehow, and ends up calling them to let them know that something's going on.
Mhm.
Then we get back to the crew that the kaiju we saw from episode three starts chasing them around.
In the midst of the drama.
Yeah, they had the drama. They're into hiding, trying to hide from the kaiju or Titan. They're calling them Titans here.
Mhm.
Um, they go into hiding. May gets injured as she steps into like a puddle in this underground frozen cavern. Her foot's cold. Maybe she twisted her ankle or something. And then we flash back to Tokyo in 2014, a year prior to. It says a year before. And then we see how Kentaro and May met. Um, it's a weird segment to me. This meeting of May and Kentaro. What do you think of it?
Um, I guess I kind of agree. Just because I overall, like, I think it was nice,
Yeah,
but overall, I'm not entirely sure why it was necessary. Um, just because of what we see the rest of the episode, it didn't seem like we fully needed that.
yeah,
You know, like, yeah, I liked it, but I was just kind of like, this would make more sense if, like, they had, like, maybe a longer romance or something,
mm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Because the wife and I were talking about it, and she was trying to figure out whether like he ghosted her right after that, after the hookup, or
Mm,
whether they had a. I think it's inferred that they had a longer ongoing romance after the initial meeting. I just found it weird because he flaked on his gallery. We found out earlier that he's an artist.
yeah.
He's got this big gallery, his first show ever, and one of the curators of the gallery, the owner of the gallery, is putting it on for big time investors to come in,
Mhm.
and he flakes.
That's
And
really weird. I
yeah,
like, I don't know, I feel like I could understand flaking, on doing the work leading up to the gallery show, but if you already did it, like, just show up.
yeah. Well, I think it's ironic given it's a major event, and his father made an effort to come to this event, and we know that Pops disappeared out of their lives for a lot of
Right.
time with no explanation as to where he goes. The
Mhm.
one event that you had set up, your very first big show, Pops makes an effort to show up at said event, and you ghost him till like the very end of the show, where you show up and we get to see him saying, "I wouldn't have missed it for the world."
Mhm.
This is our first hint that May is shady, I
Okay.
think, because she didn't want to be in the picture.
Mhm.
And she was like, well, that's understandable when someone you don't know takes your picture. And she thought that he was just taking a picture of her. But
Right.
we know because she's like a hacker, for lack of a better word. She says, I do
Okay.
computer stuff.
Yeah.
And so, she may be doing some things that are not above board. So I can understand why she wouldn't want her face and location known to the masses.
Right.
So for her, it makes sense not to want to, be shown. But it's kind of the first hint of that because we've already known kind of what she does because of the previous episodes. But this is kind of their first meeting, so it's our kind of introduction to them. Then they flash back a year forward to back to Alaska, and they argue about where to go.
Hmm.
And the rest of the crew kind of doubts that Kentaro saw what he says he saw.
Yeah.
Um, and then they flash back again to 2014. Did you find it curious, or was I tripping? But May knew the password to the whiskey speakeasy. Remember, they kind of talked to each other, and she asked if there's going to be wine at the gallery, and he said it's going to be bad, pretentious wine. And
Hmm.
then she says she likes whiskey, but I like expensive whiskey. And he's like, "You're in luck. We have some pretty expensive Japanese whiskeys here." And
Hmm.
then he's like, "I know a spot." And then
Okay.
they go to the spot. He announces who it is, and after he knocks on the door, but
Hmm.
he doesn't give the password. She yells something. And
Oh.
then that's when the door opens. So I was like, that's weird. Like I thought she was taking you to a place that you were unaware of, but you knew the password to get the door open. And then they go in, uh, they have their little kind of pseudo date at the whiskey bar where they're talking to each other back and forth. They go back to his place, and that's I have a note here that's basically like, I don't get either of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I I mean, as far as the password thing goes, I guess I must have just missed that part where she gave the password. But
Yeah,
the only reason why maybe to me that's not as weird. I mean, it's a little weird just because I don't know. We don't have as much context for like how long she's been living in Japan. But if she says she likes expensive whiskey, then
yeah.
like you could infer that she knows places around town where to get whiskey. So like, probably she's just been there before.
No, that I get, but she's acting as if because once she gets in and they sit down at the bar, she's like, "Well, you're right. You have impressed me," as if she hasn't been to the place before. He explains that he designed the lighting, and she
Right.
looks up at the lights and acts kind of. It all. She shouldn't be surprised if she knows the password and has been there before, but then acts like he's truly impressed her because he's taken her to a new spot.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I think I agree with you. They're both weird. I don't understand like ghosting your own show for like some girl. Like
I mean,
I mean she's beautiful. She's beautiful and she's mysterious and she's cool. But like invite her to the show.
he
And
did.
he did. He did. He invited her to the show. But it's still kind of I don't know. It's like I feel like the first thing I would ask is like, "Would you like to be my date? I can get you some whiskey. We can go on the way." And he did kind of do that. So I don't know. I just I didn't understand like spending so much time with
Yeah.
her while your own show's going on. I was
Yeah,
like,
right now, yeah. Like
yeah,
having a movie premiere that you don't go to.
yeah. I was like, okay, the drink, fine. Like to me, the drink is like, okay, you're pushing it, but like, all right, whatever. But then we go to the hookup scene, and I was like,
Yeah, and
who
then he
knows
just
how long that was, so,
maybe he was speedy. I don't know.
but
I mean,
even
they had time to get dressed and go and still go. So he was, and maybe he was thinking he was going to make a dramatic entrance, at the end of it or whatever. And but it was still, yeah, it was in poor taste, I think, for him to miss his own show. Um, and I was thinking maybe she didn't want to go because she says because he does offer her to take her there, and then she's like, "That's not my crowd." But I was thinking she just didn't want to be seen
yeah,
in public, especially if there were potential for like maybe media to be there
mhm,
to kind of place her there. And who knows? I mean,
like
she
with
might be
him,
thinking folks is looking for her. Maybe she done scam somebody online. She's got this hacking thing that she's doing. She don't want to be out there like that. She's trying. You're not trying to blow up the spot. She's trying to be,
yeah,
you
low
know,
key,
yeah, low profile.
mhm,
So yeah, we're going back and forth between these two time periods, and we see the rest of the crew. They want to follow the light in the ground. Uh, Kentaro wants to follow what he thought he saw, and they're not in agreement. And they Cardinal Sin. They split up. Kentaro walks off on his own path, and the crew, they're gonna go follow these lights. But like you said, you don't know how far away that light is. Then we go to I guess we're sticking in the timeline because they don't give us another prompt to let us know that we're skipping time either way. We just see Monarch again on like some. We get basically get a Zoom call with Monarch, and they're talking the readings that Dr. Barnes in Utah at the beginning of the episode found. She's saying there are polars in Alaska, and last they checked, there weren't any polars in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking possibly it was the awakening of the Titan.
Okay.
When the plane landed, because you know these Titans are atomically powered, so possibly that was the power source that was awakened that gave the readings. And then we go immediately to Alaska. My boy Ken is on this, I call it a spiritual walkabout in the tundra. And simultaneously, May seems to be falling into hypothermia. She's getting delusional. Her speech is slower. And then, yeah, and then Ken falls out. I I knew they weren't going to do it, but part of me was like, what if he just dies out there in the snow and just freezes to death by himself?
I felt like the only reason any of them survived this episode was for the plot. Like,
The plot armor
yeah,
saved them all.
Right. I was like, everyone is extremely lucky.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
more than lucky. That should be the title of this episode is plot armor because we don't lose none of them.
Mm-hmm.
Kentaro falls out in the middle of the snow out, and when he did that, I was like, oh, he's donezo.
Yeah, I was like, that's it.
He about to free. He about to be looking like was it Dunho? Duho. I think he's gonna look like Duho. Yeah. Froze to the wing, like just right there. The crew ends up right back at the campsite, and they put two and two together that the Titan is attracted to heat and not them, and because they come for the campfire that they put up to help May recover. He comes about the ground and eats up the fire. And when it attacks the fire they built to keep May warm, Kentaro magically finds another work site of their dad.
Somehow,
Somehow. He just mysteriously gets back up. He's seeing ghosts. He's hearing voices. That's why I called it kind of a spiritual walkabout. Like he was on ayahuasca in the middle of the snow, just high as hell, and then just magically gets up and starts walking. And apparently he finds a radio in the work site.
A working radio.
A working radio that somebody fixed. Because he makes, at the end of the episode, he makes a comment like somebody had to have fixed it. So somehow I guess he saw that it must have been broken at some point and was recently fixed. Yeah. I don't get May here either. I understand that she feels she's about to die. That I understand. She's like, leave me behind. You have to leave. I'm gonna slow you down. But then she's advising Kate to ditch Shaw. And I'm sorry, but throughout all these episodes,
like he's the only one who knows how to do anything.
Yeah. I'm like, these people have not really displayed any survival skills whatsoever. You're out in the tundra. Yeah, where is she gonna go by her lonesome? And
it's also weird. It's also weird. I mean, I get that she thinks she's gonna die.
Yeah,
but it's also kind of, and I can't even really fault her because she does think she's gonna die and she's delirious, all this stuff. So I don't really fault her for anything she's saying. But I just also kind of feel like I'm like, if I was Kate, I'm not letting you die because you also have skills I don't have. All right. So I need you to stay alive because I don't want you to die, but also because like I need you. Like you can't die.
This also kind of reconfirms the shadiness of May because I'm like, why is she so distrustful of everything and anyone?
I think we have a lot to learn about, or I think we have more to learn about May and her sister. So I think more is coming down. I worry that the buildup of what's going on with May is going to be a disappointment. For why she's so sneaky and shady and all this kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
who's to say? I
yeah,
can't really tell if the payoffs are good or bad yet in this show.
yeah. I mean, the show is at least it's kept things interesting. It's just a lot of super. I mean, it's already unrealistic, but I think if you're gonna have the extreme unrealism with the Titans and everything else going on, at least the human element should be halfway a realistic or a tangible thing in the
Yeah,
show. But it's not taking away from my enjoyment of it at least.
yeah, I agree. I
It's just
definitely
kind of
thought
small things.
I thought this episode was super interesting. I When the Titan was coming out the ground and like was snatching fire, I for a second I got excited because I thought it was like, oh, maybe it's a friendly Titan to them somehow. Like, and it's trying to like magnify the fire and keep them alive. But I was like, that logic doesn't make sense. It killed that other guy. Why
Yeah.
would it keep these folks alive? So I was like, oh, okay, well,
And he's inhaling the fire. He just breathes in and it just kind of goes into him. He's
which
feeding off of it somehow,
that's
which
really weird. I don't
it is
understand.
really weird because I'm like, is that like the closest to nuclear power that you can get? Because these things are supposed to feed off of atomic energy, and maybe there is no atomic energy. So
I'm also just confused because I'm like, well, you live here in Alaska. I would imagine that like lack of heat would fuel you. Like maybe it's a cold-blooded titan somehow. But
yeah,
it's eating fire.
yeah,
So what's up with that?
I don't
And
know.
I also thought it was gonna spit the fire back out. Like if it was gonna inhale it,
Like
that would,
weaponize it.
yeah, I thought that's
Mm,
what it was gonna do.
that
So
would have been dope.
that's what I was waiting for. I was like, oh, really? Everyone is gonna die. That's
Yeah,
very
we're gonna freeze you, and then broil you right after we freeze,
yeah.
and then we go back to the
Cook you. It's
cook
called
you. Yeah, back and forth, freeze and cook,
yep.
right, back to back, and then we go back to the Zoom call. This was kind of hilarious. As Tim puts his bid in with Monarch, but he's like, "Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me." He's basically, I've been trying to tell y'all about this stuff, and everybody's been ignoring me and move. I was thinking of Tim as like the weird guy in Office Space who they keep moving his office everywhere down to the basement. And you got my stapler, like that character. But I guess that's Tim's role. Like, y'all may not know me. You may have moved me to the closet, or you don't want to talk to me. You avoid me in the break room. And you're not going to ask me to Monarch karaoke. But I've been trying to get y'all to know that Randa's kids had the Randa files. We need to go after them and find out. And I would hoping that you guys be more open minded about learning as much as we can about these creatures. And I was like, he's talking about preventing another G-Day event. Like, how are you gonna? We have nothing that'll be able to stop a G-Day event. It's painfully obvious.
Yeah.
Like, at most, we got these little fire drills where y'all just go below ground and hope that he doesn't stomp a mud hole in the rest of the city and crush y'all while you're in your underground cavern. That and what did you think about the pencil shaving trail in the snow that just appeared out of nowhere when he rolls over to find this work site?
I thought it was so weird and silly because I was just like, there's so many pencil shavings. I was like, how many pencils are you shaving? Why
Yeah.
is it so many? That whole section, like I understand, like when he was, I forget the older dude's name, but when he was just like, yeah, this area is just really strange. It's plays tricks on your
Oh
mind.
yeah, yeah. Like you don't know what direction we're in because the Titans kind of mess with the area around their
Yeah,
domain. I guess.
just I know you probably haven't played Kingdom Hearts, but the whole that whole this whole section of where everyone is like on the brink of dying and they're seeing visions and stuff, and I was like, this all feels very Kingdom Hearts like, very Nomura like, and and it's silly nonsense, but it's enough to it's just none of it made sense, but it was compelling enough to get us to where Ken gets the helicopter.
Yeah, I think it's more akin to a video game if the area around the Titan is like procedurally generated, so it may not be the same every time you encounter it.
Right.
Like the area has just been revamped each time
Mhm.
you encounter him. But I was thinking more along the lines of these little like spiritual breadcrumbs can't actually exist because it doesn't make any sense that he would be uh, pencil sharpening in the middle of the snow, like,
Yeah,
and then to leave a trail of unless maybe he put the pencil shavings in his bag and his bag had a hole in it somehow, and
yeah.
then he walked back to this new work site and just left a trail of pencils. Like that makes no sense at
That's
all.
really weird. I was surprised when his dad, when you see his dad like
Yeah.
walking towards him and then he actually like physically bumped him. And I was like, "Oh, is real." Cuz like,
Did he bump him or did he just walk? Because it seemed like they
no,
they
he
brushed
bumped
past each
him.
other.
Well, I mean, but it was like physical contact, which I
Mm.
was surprised about. So I was like, "Oh, is this the time? Is this it?" But I was like I could tell like this is like a vision because I
Because
was
he
like,
wasn't dressed for the cold.
right. I was like, okay, but I thought if it was a vision that he was gonna like walk through him and not just like do physical contact. But
Yeah.
um so that was interesting. But yeah, the pencil shavings was so crazy. I don't know, something about them just felt they all looked too fresh. Like they all looked like I
Yeah.
was like, they should be wet at least.
Or covered over with the fresh coat of snow. Like it,
Yeah.
you're in Alaska and it's obviously snowing out there. So by the time he left those shavings, it would be covered over however many times that it snowed during the time that he had come and gone.
I mean, you know what? I
But you didn't see no footprints. It wasn't like he was following any tracks.
nothing. And I'm not even too mad. I'm not too mad about the pencil shavings because it was one decision away from being feathers. And then this whole thing would have been just like
And that's what's making it feel like a video game is these mythical pencil shavings. If they go, because we know from the trailers and stuff, they go to the desert. If they find pencil shavings in the sand, I'm gonna be like, come on, man. So yeah, they decide we go back to the crew that they're going to after the Titan comes for the fire that they set up to warm May up at the initial campsite. Shaw gets a bright idea that he's gonna lay a trap for it and light a bigger fire with the airplane fuel. And just as he's about to do that, the thing pops up and they start making a break for it. Kate almost gets ate up and frozen. I don't. She uses the Monarch bag or whatever backpack knapsack she has to fend off the freezing cold from the Titan, and then that's just when the copter shows up. He lights the fire. Shaw does and blows himself over into the corner, and the beast turns around, goes back for the fire initially, and then they are able to make a break. Um, and they fly by these weird northern lights. After all getting in the helicopter, they see these northern lights shooting up out of the ground, uh, and then they land. But before they land, you see that the laptop is done.
yeah.
That May had the laptop looks like it's done. And of course, my boy pulls out some of these pencil shavings in his hand and gives them to Kate. We have a little moment where she holds May's hand, and then they land only to be greeted by Tim and Monarch and the agent that he's with. So now Monarch is caught up with Shaw after he
Mhm.
left the retirement home and the crew. And I'm wondering how this is all going to play out. They're obviously going to try and feed them information. But I'm like, at this point, what files do they have to get? Unless there's some way that they could get the laptop up and running again.
I don't know. I mean, I thought the whole point of it was to find the dad. So I feel like maybe at this point it's less about the file. I mean, the files would have been great to like cross analyze information
Yeah.
and like help find the dad. But now that I feel like the dad's probably just with them. Like I feel like we'll get a dad reveal
I
next episode.
but from what I'm seeing and what I've been listening to with their conversations, he wants Tim wants the files that he knew that they had.
Right,
Right?
right, right.
Um, Kate and Kentaro want to find out what happened to the dad because Shaw told them whatever Monarch said was a lie about him disappearing without a trace, something. So yeah, they can team up and all find whatever happened to Hiroshi to see if we can find Mr. Randa. But the files are effectively gone because they dumped the physical cassettes they had in the ocean on the ferry from Japan to Korea, and then whatever was transferred digitally to the laptop, unless they can get that thing up and running, the files are gone. So they really don't have what Tim was looking for. So now I really don't see what his motivation is to kind of keep them around, other than hoping that they could, like you said, maybe find a trail that will lead to the dad.
Maybe maybe May has like a highly encrypted cloud of
Digital backup in the
yeah,
cloud.
just in case or something. But even so, like that wasn't information she disclosed to Kate when she thought she was gonna die. So maybe not.
No, she was talking about giving her a phone number to her sister to call.
Right.
Um, you think we're going to get another Godzilla sighting in this show?
I hope so.
Yeah, you hope so.
Yeah. Or at least another like
I
different kind
think we're going to get more Titans. I think
okay.
that's a given.
Yeah.
But I'm specifically saying I wonder if we're going to get another Godzilla. Have you seen what is it, Godzilla minus zero that's out
I'm
now?
gonna see it tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna see it tomorrow.
yeah, I haven't seen it yet either.
I hear it's very good. So
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
excited.
I'm wondering if we're going to get another sighting in this show, and if and when. I think it's only inevitable that we're going to run into Pops at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're going to get your dreams come true. The tag team sibling beat up of Pops after doing both their moms dirty and leading double life
I don't know
across
if
the
they
world.
got the energy for it anymore. They almost died. They were having visions and stuff. I think they're tired, so they they may not do it.
Yeah, Ken had his little walkabout. We haven't had a little spiritual. Kate hasn't had her little spiritual walkabout yet.
She has it.
She just keeps having flashbacks of G Day. That's what she does.
Yeah, just trauma.
She's got serious PTSD with
Mhm.
Zilla. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I'm still enjoying the show. This one had a nice little action. I
Yeah.
wonder what the budget for this show is, because the CGI still is good when they have the action scenes, and with
Let me look it
the
up.
Titan. I don't know what the hell he's called. I don't know if they haven't really given him a name. Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still liking the show. We have like I think 6 more episodes to go. We'll look at and talk about episode 5 next week, and then by then there'll be another one. What's so funny?
Um, I was scrolling down, trying to look for the budget, and then it was like a tab that says reviews, and like the overall audience rating summary is like a 2.7.
Out
So,
of 5
uh-huh.
for the show, like they're really not liking it like that.
I am not sure where these reviews are. Like maybe this is just like on Google. I don't think this is on Rotten
Rotten
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes or Metacritic or anything.
Yeah, I think this is like just Google. But it was very funny to just see it because it's like so many like 1 stars. 1 star,
Wow, they're
2
not
star.
feeling it. I mean, if it's not your thing, but like I said, this is the type of thing I think like
You can't
you
take it too seriously.
you can't take it too seriously, and you got to know what it is that you're in for. I
Hmm.
said the same thing about Pacific Rim. I think we were talking about that last week a little bit. Like if you're not into giant kaiju fighting robots, then why'd you buy a ticket to watch that film, or why'd you choose to watch that TV show? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of counterproductive. I'm still pretty much well hooked into the plot of this. Interested to see where it goes, when and if they find the Pops, and what other Titans we're gonna get, and how it all ties into the overall monster verse they're creating here. Because it's kind of interesting to see. I know people are probably tired of these whole universes being strung together, but it is what it is.
Universes being strung together is not uninteresting. It is tiresome when like that's the only thing interesting about it is the fact that it's a universe and like um people are stringing together like characters,
Yeah.
put it just like to have a roster, but like the stories and behind them are not as interesting or not as well done, and then the connection behind or to each character in the universe is not compelling. That's when it gets tiresome, I feel.
I think that's the problem is some people probably will miss context if they haven't watched everything within the universe. So I can ask you again, have
Mhm.
we watched Kong Skull Island
I
yet?
forgot to watch it. I did. I'm sorry. I since I'm gonna watch Godzilla tomorrow, I'll put Skull Island on my list before I go and see minus one.
Okay.
So
Because I
I'll
think that's the more harrowing thing. It's not that the world itself is uninteresting. It's like how much stuff do I need to watch to understand everything that's going on for this current show?
got
And
you.
then knowing that it's not going to stop here, I think people don't want to be beholden to watching 50 different things so that they can get the full enjoyment out of what's there. Like if you didn't watch Godzilla, King of Monsters, uh, Godzilla versus Kong, Kong Skull Island. Now we got this 10-part series, and there's Godzilla X Kong New Empire that's going to be a film coming out. Like, if you haven't watched all of these things, will you be missing out in some of the context once you get to that film? Like, even if you were super interested in it now, like I said, we've had this discussion, but
I
I've
mean,
noticed it with the wife and I when things are clicking for me that aren't necessarily clicking, and she's looking at me like, why I don't understand why that was interesting. When that one person in the room becomes the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, snapping his fingers and pointing at the screen, and
mhm.
everybody else in the room is like, I don't get it. I don't get why that's significant.
I mean, I so the and I know it's not an easy thing to do with like everything, but I definitely feel like even if it's a sequel or something, or it's a follow up in a series of something, it still should be interesting enough on its
On
own
its own, yeah.
without having to rely on so much context. So like, for example, um I played Final Fantasy 10-2 before I played 10.
Yeah.
And I didn't there was a lot of stuff I didn't know what was going on, but cuz 10-2 was the aftermath of the events of 10, there
Mhm.
were remnants of things where like the way they explained it, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. Like what happened?" And then
Yeah.
I played 10 and it's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. Yeah. I see that that's part of the problem. Like I don't know if they're focusing on making that one thing be strong enough to stand alone on its own.
Mhm.
Like it is a puzzle piece within the wider scope of the creative work.
Yeah.
So they're kind of they're hoping for viewers to be strung along. And some people don't want that. You just want a one hitter quitter sometimes. I just want to watch this and like this and then leave it at that. Now, if it happens to connect with other things, that's fine. I think it's a weird balance where I don't think all of the companies are achieving that. I think
Yeah.
we've seen that with Star Wars. We're seeing it with Marvel. We're seeing it with the DCEU, where that's been stopped and then reloaded. It's going to be reloaded again. Um, they tried. Universal, I believe, started to try and do a monster verse with like Frankenstein and the Mummy. They were planning to do all of those with Tom Cruise's The Mummy film, but it crashed and burned in the theaters, didn't do well, and then they put the kibosh on that. But they were trying to do their own monster verse with like the classic monsters,
Mm.
and it didn't work out. So
I guess I don't just the idea of it is not a bad idea,
mhm.
but I feel like I don't like the idea of it being a universe where like these characters have to team up to fight something or whatever. Like I just I kind of feel like some stuff it's just cool if these characters exist
Yeah,
doing their own thing alongside each other. Like that's interesting. But yeah, I definitely feel like a lot of franchises are relying too much on like nostalgia and like fan service in a way that is like not even good fan service.
Yeah.
You know, like just expecting a fan to remember a thing, but like
Yeah.
not creating interesting context even around the thing that the audience member is supposed to remember. I don't know. It feels lazy a little bit, you
I
know.
think it's greedy because they're trying to rope in a wider audience by attracting new viewers, but they still want the old viewers. So
Right.
they have to drop enough member berries in there for the old viewers to pick up, and at the same time attract people that may not necessarily be familiar with the universe. And they're probably hoping maybe they go back if they're not familiar and watch all the old stuff.
I guess. I mean, I get that, which I think, um, like the Vision series is interesting, you know, because like it was a bunch of shorts
Yeah,
where they're just exploring kind of. I mean, it's vignettes, but I think that format is also interesting. Like if you want to tap into like fan service and nostalgia,
that
and
was chock full of it.
right.
Yeah,
So I think that's effective. Like
yeah.
in because you're doing it in a short form and you can do more of it, and your fans are serviced. Like they can be pleased without having to uh and and this is not to say that like those shows aren't a huge investment of money, but I don't know if it's as much of an investment as like a feature film or a bunch of feature films.
I think more.
Oh well, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think more. When you think of like a movie, it's like 100 million uh, or more,
Yeah, for a
and
Star
then
Wars film, certainly.
yeah, and then you have a TV show. I think one of it they might have been like at some of these shows get to be 10 up to like 15 million per show. So if you got
Yeah, fair
10
enough.
episodes,
No, you're right. You're filming just a lot more content.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So
budget wise, which yeah, they need the viewership, which is why I think it kind of hurts them if some people may not want to invest the time to get that context.
hmm
Like in order to watch this 10 episode series, I need to have watched 3 other movies, at least maybe 4 other movies, and I'm just not going to sit down. Some people will be like, I'm not going to sit down and carve that 8 hours out of my life
yeah,
to
and to
fully
be
understand this.
right, and to be fair, like this show Monarch, I think is doing a great job because like I haven't seen all of the Godzilla stuff and King Kong stuff, but this is still interesting and compelling on its own.
Yeah,
So I'm not, you know,
yeah.
not. It's not bad. It's like not bad without like if y'all hadn't told me that, oh, you should go watch Skull Island,
You,
it would have been fine. The show would have been fine still.
and I think the fact that you're still enjoying it maybe speaks to the strength of the show then,
hmm
because you don't feel like you're overly missing out. Like I guess that would be, you don't know what you don't know, so you wouldn't know what you were missing. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it just I think some of the stuff may hit a little harder once you have that context. As far as them explaining where some of these titans come from,
Yeah.
it puts a little twist into that. I'm glad you're still liking it. I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think there are parts of it that are definitely very silly. Um and nonsensical and just like, all right, someone just wrote this like this so we could get from A to B. But that's fine.
Do you feel that we're getting too much? Because this was a complaint I think about the 2015 Godzilla film. Do you think we're getting too much human drama and not enough Titan?
Um, I think that has yet to be seen.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair to say yay or nay on that yet. I think it depends on how much more of the Titans we see in the coming episodes versus the human drama.
Did you see Godzilla 2015?
Did I? I'm not sure if I did. I know.
Because he shows up like at damn near the end of the movie.
Okay. I
So
think I did.
yeah, there's like an hour and change of just the human drama, the familial stuff, following these humans around that are studying and doing these other things, and their family drama. And then at the very end, we give you, Godzilla stomping. Here, Thomas.
I mean, I understand that like like monster movies and like these high concept films and stuff that have creatures and monsters and like larger than life characters, you kind of need a human element to contextualize like why should we even care about this monster. And in that same breath, I'd be interested maybe to watch even more Godzilla movies that um, have less to do with human stories, and it's just like this exists because Godzilla is cool and Godzilla's doing Godzilla stuff in this movie.
And that's what the complaint was. Like, we don't need to see these people arguments or their family drama. Only time we need to hear the humans is when they're screaming and running, because Godzilla is putting the mash on the city. That's all we want to see. We want to see them discussions, dinner
You know
table.
what? I feel that. And I think the reason why they do it this way with like adding all these human stories is just to have broader appeal. But I'm also of the camp like if there's a cool character or a cool creature, I really want to see them do their thing. Like I
Yeah,
really, but also, I like I don't know. I mean, does it get uninteresting after an hour and 30 minutes of like Godzilla doing Godzilla stuff?
I
You
mean,
know?
but if you're the title character,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, then we should get a better balance. Wouldn't be an hour and 15 minutes of human drama,
Right.
15 minutes of Godzilla doing Godzilla stuff. To me,
Yeah.
I that's a fair complaint, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'd even be happy to, and I don't know if Godzilla movies like this exist already, but I'm also happy to watch a Godzilla movie where there's not even humans, where like the context around Godzilla is other monsters, like who's stronger and weaker than Godzilla, and what is he up against?
Well, that
Um,
I think was what they were supposed to be introducing with Godzilla King of Monsters, because they added more, like when the humans were freaking out, like, oh, he's not the only one. There's a bunch of other ones that come into the fold. Now we're gonna get to see this, like, basically this monster battle royale, and we just have to suffer and witness as they destroy everything around us.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I'm cool with that. I'm okay with watching a movie where like Godzilla is murking stuff
Yeah,
under the earth, and
yeah,
then that, like maybe we can see parts of that underground battle coming through the earth, above ground. Um, and where you just you understand that the humans are kind of screwed, but
yeah,
like the focus is still on Godzilla in them. Like I'm okay to be dehumanized in that way,
yeah.
a little bit for the sake of like showcasing this character.
I
So
like the fact that I like when they bring the cheesiness back into it,
right,
because the old school Godzilla movies where you had like basically a human in a rubber suit and some paper mache monster stomping on miniaturized models of the city, and I think we're just doing it. We're going to do it now with better graphics and more better technology, because we have CGI and other things that we can make it look more realistic. But I think I saw a clip of Godzilla sliding across the screen on his tail. Like, the thing just literally leaned back, his tail drags on the ground, and he just did this like across the way jump kick into the chest of some other mon. It's hilarious.
that's great. That
Yeah.
sounds fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. They brought a little bit of that back with Godzilla vs Kong,
Okay.
and when they have the three-way fight between them two, and then Mecha Godzilla, it got super silly during that part.
Yeah.
I was there for it, and it was campy. It was just done with updated technology that they didn't have in the '60s and '70s. So
Hmm.
hope we get more of that.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely hope we see more monsters, or titans in the show. I think, like you said, I think we will.
Yeah,
If we get another Godzilla sighting, it'll probably just be like one, or it'll be two, and the two of them will be in like the last two episodes. Like
yeah,
maybe like the episode before the last, we get like a peek of like everything screwed because Godzilla's here, and then the last episode we see more Godzilla murk and stuff. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Well, thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to chop it up with me about these things. And we actually had like 6 or 7 people popped in. I
Nice.
appreciate.
For the people watching, y'all need to know today is Rod's birthday. So happy birthday to
Yep.
Mr. Rod Van Blake here, our
Yeah.
host, our illustrious host.
Thank you. Still kicking. Still going strong. I
Send some money
appreciate you all.
to his Cash App so he can buy himself some ice cream and cake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to give us some views and listen to us chopping up about these things. Thank you, Monica. And we will be back next week talking episode 5. Once again, there will be a link in the description both to my author website and to Jocelyn's website so you can check out some of her art. Thank you, Janelle. Appreciate it. And we will talk to you all next week. Peace.
Y'all.